Hello, everybody. Welcome to Vegan Social Events, Sustainable Block Party and Pop-Up Market. My name is Tina Stokes, and I'm the founder of Vegan Stokes Cheese. And we are so... Yes, thank you. Thank you. We are so thrilled to sponsor the stage for this event with all of these amazing speakers and panelists. So what drove me to start making vegan cheese was learning about the dairy industry practices and coming to realize that there was more cruelty in a glass of milk than there is in a steak. And then I found that cheese was essentially the final frontier for most people. They just couldn't give up the taste of cheese. So I set out to make my own dairy-free, cruelty-free cheese that would taste just as delicious. And if you haven't had a chance to taste our cheese yet, please make your way over to our booth and see how great, thank you, Carly. Yeah, see how great dairy-free can taste. And before we move ahead, I wanted to ask you all to please be sure to tag Vegan Social Events and use the hashtag Vegan Social Events for any posts from today, because we'd love to see your social media shares. Sorry, what page? And now, I am absolutely thrilled to introduce the keynote speaker. He is an Australian animal rights activist who's known for taking a one-year vow of silence to raise awareness about animal cruelty. In addition to cycling 5,000 kilometers across Australia and being tattooed for 25 hours straight for charity, he has overcome a battle with leukemia, an eating disorder, and drug abuse to become one of the most well-known animal rights activists in the current movement. Please welcome James Aspey.
Let's get busy. Thank you. Calm down, Carly. What's up, everybody? Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thanks to everybody who organized this event. It's always great to feel like there's some community, because sometimes it feels like you're the only person in the world who sees that there's a big nightmare going on. I was totally oblivious for so many years of my life to how bad some of the things in this world are. And I was also totally oblivious to my part in it. So I'm really grateful these days to have become aware that, you know, just because I'm doing well and I don't have really much to worry about, which so many of us here are very lucky to also share that privilege, the vast majority of beings on this planet, the vast majority of sentient animals like us and all the other millions of species out there, many of them are not anywhere near as lucky as we are. In fact, because of us, there are 8 billion animals' lives taken every single day inside slaughterhouses. 8 billion. So that's 8,000 million every day. That's more than the entire population of our own species every day that we have taken from them. And a lot of people are kind of under the impression that this isn't really a big deal because they're not the same as us. They're different, they look different on the outside. Their family structure might look different, or their community might look a little different. So we don't take their suffering as seriously as we would take our own suffering or the suffering of someone in our friends and family group. And what I've come to realize over the years, thankfully, is that they matter, if to nobody else, to themselves at least. And for that reason, it's important that we not only stop hurting them, but also start helping them. Because right now they're at such a disadvantage. We've literally built the world around exploiting and killing them. The seats you sit on potentially have pieces of animals in them. The ground we walk on and drive on potentially has pieces of animals inside them. Most people sit down 3 times a day and eat either the body parts or the secretions that have come out of animals who have been abused in such a horrific way that it's almost incomprehensible that we would ever do this, especially as a society who claim to be civilized and claim to be peaceful and at least just striving in that direction. The ways that we get meat, dairy, and eggs, it is as if it's a real-life nightmare happening on this earth. And there is no humane way to do this. There is no humane way to kill these animals. There is no nice way to take the life of somebody who doesn't want to die. So we're talking about, if we were talking about humans, we'd be talking about murder. We'd be talking about taking the life of somebody who doesn't want to die. That would be classified as murder. When it happens to animals, we don't call it that. But let's just consider that that's still the same thing. It's still a very violent act. And in 2018, why are we still getting our food the same way as our very first ancestors? Beating somebody over the head and then cutting their throat. In all the ways of our society, we have progressed. Like if I want to go back to my country, Australia, which is the other side of the world, I get my phone out, I type a few things on this screen, it sends a message to a satellite which bounces somewhere else, someone arrives in front of me, I get in this machine that drives me to this place, I fly onto the other side of the world, and then I'm like, what's up to my family? It's amazing. How do we get food? We're still beating sentient beings over their head and cutting their throat. Now we're really good at it. We can do it quick, and we can keep them in such bad conditions that they're just alive. They're just alive. We feed them 80% of the world's antibiotics, and we can keep enough of them alive so that it's very cheap and very fast and very affordable, and the price of meat does not resemble the actual costs of this meat. Can you put a price on life? Can you put a price on the amount that they suffer? I don't think so. So I don't want to just tell you all about the doom and gloom, even though I do want to just make this point one more time that the world we live in right now is so far from ideal. And the reason why the vast majority of beings on this planet are suffering is not because of someone else and not because of some other country that are especially cruel to animals. It is in every single country, on every single nation. Gandhi said that the way you can measure a nation's moral progress is by the way that they treat their animals. And that means there is not a single moral nation on the planet. They all have slaughterhouses. They all send them to their death. That's the doom and gloom. Yes, there is a worldwide death cult happening. That's what I've been calling it. It's kind of like a bit of a death cult, because if you want to leave, if you don't want to do this anymore, you literally have been told that you will die. What do you need meat for? Protein. What do you need dairy for? And what do you need eggs for? Omegas. That's a bit of a tricky one. Can we get protein from somewhere else? Yeah? Okay, what about dairy? What about calcium? What about omegas? Okay, but how many people are under the impression, or have been under the impression, that you need those products to survive? If you don't eat meat, you will die. I was a personal trainer for nearly 8 years telling people that. People would come to me wanting a vegetarian meal plan. And I was like, yeah, okay, it's going to have some steak in it. It's going to have some chicken in it. You can't be healthy, and therefore I can't give you what you want, because I'm not going to give you something that's going to make you more sick. The truth and the beauty is that when we stop hurting them, when we stop harming and killing them, they stop harming and killing us. The leading cause of death in humans is heart disease. The only diet proven to reverse heart disease, and the majority of patients, is a plant-based diet, a diet free from animal products. Now, when I say a plant-based diet, when people used to say that to me, I used to think of like a big green fern. You know, I'm like, what do these people eat? They just eat lettuce all day long. If you have a quick scroll through my Instagram feed, you'll see I haven't had a salad in about 4 years. I'm eating burgers, pizzas, pastas, ice creams. I'm having cakes. I just had a cheesecake just then. I'm eating, anyone who's on this plant-based diet, they're not just eating twigs and berries. We're having the most incredible, delicious food. We have vegan meat, vegan cheese, vegan ice cream. And what vegan means is it's the product without the animal cruelty, without the use of the animals. We got all this available to us today in 2018 at the same supermarket we already shop in. How incredible is that? That we can have the foods we enjoy without harming anybody else, and we're doing so much better to us. And also we're doing so much better to the planet. The leading cause of the most destructive things happening to Earth is animal agriculture. The leading cause of deforestation, species extinction, habitat loss, ocean dead zones, greenhouse gas emissions. There's more greenhouse gas emissions produced by the methane that comes out of cows than by every single transportation device on this planet. The best thing we can do is not to have a shorter shower, but actually if we had one less quarter pounder burger, we would save 3 months worth of showering. We feed animals 6 to 12 times more food than what we can take from them. Meanwhile, 20,000 children every day die of starvation. 20,000 a day. 8 billion animals killed every day is a statistic that's actually really hard to comprehend because it's such a big number, which is a shame, that your brain doesn't even nearly go there. It's like, what the hell does that number mean? You can't even know. 20,000 is a little bit more understandable. To think that that many children die every single day, when 2 instead of 20,000, when 2 would be too many, really speaks volumes of the state of the world we're in. And my hope is that we all start to see our role in all of this. We start to see our role in what we are contributing to that is causing so much harm, and this other path that is right next door that can make this world such a better place, such a more peaceful place, a more compassionate place, a more loving place, where there's more food, more water, less pollution, no slaughterhouses. What do we have? Does our ideal world have slaughterhouses where these animals scream to death, these innocent beings? No. So it's all about trying to create the most ideal world we can. Now, being vegan doesn't mean you're perfect. This road I was talking about that probably has animal products in it, I didn't levitate here. I walked on it. But as soon as the vegan road opens up next door, that's what I'm going to be walking on. So as soon as the better options become available, then we can take it on. We can add it to our path, add it to our path. There's certain ways that you can't be perfect. No one's asking for perfection. All it is about striving to cause the least amount of harm. That's what a vegan is. That's what all that means. It's not an extreme thing. It's not some type of religious thing. It's just about extending your circle of compassion to embrace all beings instead of just dogs, dolphins, whales, cats, things like that. So put your hand up if you're already on that path or have made some movements in that direction. Oh, this is my kind of party. Okay, good. All right, so I'm not going to spend then that much longer talking about what veganism is or anything like that, because I'd rather talk to you about what we can all kind of do as individuals. I think that's probably a better subject for this crowd. But I will say this, added to what I've already said, is that nobody is expecting you or anybody else to make the complete switch overnight. It would be good if we could, but we know we're all busy. You know, we've all got a lot going on in our lives. It's not always easy to just change your lifestyle. And it seems like a big shift because you've been eating meat, dairy, and eggs every day your whole life. So what are you going to eat and how are you going to do it? And will you ever be able to eat food again and enjoy it? And what I would suggest is that a good thing to do would be to get educated a little bit more. And it can just be a few minutes a day. Maybe just start following a few vegan pages on Instagram or Facebook. Maybe a few recipe pages. Maybe a few that are showing what happens to the animals. You know, just sort of start getting it into your consciousness so that you can see the issue. And then remember that every single time you purchase those products, you are paying for something that probably you don't want to be. You know, none of us here want animals to suffer and die from us. We've just been born into a world that has conditioned us to think that it's natural and normal and necessary, right? So whatever you can do to start moving in that direction, whether it's go vegetarian for a while, or maybe you choose just getting vegan milk, like plant-based milk, rice, soy, coconut, almond milk, initially, or you just decide to cut out eggs, or whatever it is. Next time you buy a jacket, instead of buying somebody's skin, which is disgusting, let's think about that. Wearing somebody's skin around? When did that become a trend? I don't know, that's a weird one. So is drinking cow's milk, though. Who's the first guy that did that? I'm curious. So whatever you can do to move in that direction, get started. And, remember that there are many paths up the mountain, and that we should support and encourage and help educate and inspire people to make it to the top and to lead by example, and together we'll all actually make some big changes. Put your hand up if you're already seeing some big changes. Me too. A lot of things are happening. I'll talk about a few. A couple of years ago in the USA, 400 million less animals were killed. A&W have just put the Beyond Burger, I believe it is, which is a vegan burger, into every single one of their stores, which is over 500 stores, which is going to make it so much more convenient and available for people to eat these plant-based burgers. In Australia, there is so much happening right now. Basically, what we're seeing is just in many areas of the world, a shift towards a more compassionate life. And we're all starting to realize that we can do it. And the businesses are starting to take off as well. Even McDonald's. McDonald's put a McVegan burger out there recently in, I think it was Finland. I never thought I'd see the day. I thought that would be the last thing to happen. But, it's all about money. It's about supply and demand. So the first step is to cut your contribution to all the things that you don't need to pay for that cause suffering and death. And a lot of the time, it's simply getting the vegan butter instead of the dairy butter, getting the vegan milk instead of the dairy milk, getting the beans on your burrito instead of the meat, getting the guacamole instead of the sour cream. Pretty easy stuff. Most of the time, it's pretty easy. The challenge isn't, what am I going to eat when I go vegan? You're going to think, I'm going to go vegan, maybe lose a few kilos. You're probably going to put on weight because you're going to find all the vegan junk food and you're going to be like, no way, they can make vegan cupcakes, they can make vegan cheesecake, I've got to try everything. So that might happen, be wary. But the problem isn't what am I going to eat? Where am I going to get protein? They're the easiest parts about this. That's no stress. That's easy to do, a bit of Googling, and within an hour you can find everything you need to know, the recipes, the health info, everything. The challenging part is, in my opinion, and speaking to a lot of other people, how do we live in a world where we know how much suffering and cruelty is happening, and when we tell people about it, they don't seem to want to change? How do we enjoy the family meals that we have when we're eating with our family and they're eating our animal brothers and sisters, basically, our fellow earthlings? How do we eat at that table? How do we get this message across without being one of those vegans? What do people think of vegans? Tell me. Angry, preachy. It's a cult. The best cult ever. What else? Preachy, angry, weak, aggressive, annoying, judgmental, protein deficient. Now, yes, we are all of... No, I'm just kidding. It's a pretty bad rep. I would guess that because a big part that when people learn about this issue, they get passionate. This is a big deal. We're talking about the difference between enslavement and freedom. We're talking about the difference between torture and peace. And we're talking about the difference between death and life. This is a massive deal for the vast majority of individuals on the planet, where the leading cause of death on our planet is, in one way or another, murder. Planet murder, planet throat slit, planet suffocate with all those fish. That's what's happening here. So you wake up, it's just like you've been chilling your whole life asleep in a way. This is how I felt. Does anybody have bad dreams where you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad that was a dream? Like you didn't do your homework or something? I always have that. But I always have that one as well where there's just snakes everywhere. And it's so scary. And then I wake up and I'm like, yes, I'm so happy. And that feeling of relief. So that's like the opposite of what happens when you go vegan. You're just happy, life's good, you're going cruising around everyday life, you don't really see it. And then you sort of realize through a little bit of information or whatever, maybe you finally learn like I did, oh, we can be perfectly happy and thrive with all the health benefits and even more health benefits by not killing and eating animals. So why do we kill and eat animals? And then that question leads you to realizing what's happening. And then that's where the nightmare starts, because you go to the supermarket and it's not just the meat section anymore, it's the morgue section. And you walk past the butcher and you see this decapitated animal, and if you have this flashback of seeing these pigs being dropped in a gas chamber and thrashing and screaming for their life. And then you realize that that's classified as the most humane method of stunning before they get their throat cut open. And you realize this is the nightmare. The bittersweetness of realizing what is happening. The sweetness is that you don't contribute anymore and you get all these benefits. The bitterness is that you realize how far off the mark we are and how many are suffering because of that. And you put yourself in their situation and you think about what that would be like, and you can't even relate, because generally the worst things that have happened to us are not even close to what happens to these animals from birth to death. It's really like hell for them. It's like the definition of hell. But basically, just to give you a quick summary, animals they don't just have babies and give birth. They restrain these animals. They forcibly inseminate them against their will while they're kicking and bucking. And when the babies are born from that, the babies are taken from the mothers. Often the baby boys in the egg and the dairy industry are slaughtered because they don't produce eggs or milk. They all have the same fate in the end, no matter how free-range, organic, or grass-fed they are. They all end up at a slaughterhouse. You realize this massive nightmare, you go, okay, how do I share this with people? And here's why I think vegans have a bad rep. You try sharing that message to people when you've seen them scream, and when you tell people, and when people are like, but plants have feelings though. Or no man, I can't live without meat. I would never live without cheese. And you're like, it's not oxygen. It's just a slice of cheese. It's not life or death for you, it's life or death for them. You know, and not only is a tough thing to kind of get across to a world that has been conditioned to think otherwise, but also a lot of people hold tightly their beliefs. They don't want to be told that what they're doing is immoral or that they should change, you know? And not everyone's that great at communicating in general. So the passion and how strong this is in our society, how normal it is, all of these things lead to people seeing us as angry, which sometimes we are, and we have every right to be, and aggressive, because sometimes it can get a bit of an argument. And preachy, yeah, we talk about it all the time. We won't, if you guys all, like, if everyone just stops, we won't talk about it anymore. We won't have to talk about it anymore. You know, so, and judgmental. It can seem that we're judging, and sometimes vegans, I think, have a habit of forgetting that you once were not vegan too. Put your hand up here if you've been vegan your whole life. One legend, two legends. A few. Okay. But what about the rest of you, huh? No, you were not. And it's really easy to forget that. It's really easy to forget that because now it's so blatantly obvious and it's so easy, and you realize how good it is, and you're like, why isn't everybody doing this? Well, you'll probably realize as well that it took you a little while to get there too. You probably didn't hear this the first time ever and change everything overnight, did ya? And some of you might have, and that's great, but a lot of people do not. So This is where patience comes into it. And this is where understanding of how people work and compassion of where people are at and trying to meet them there. A really good way to do that, a really good way to help people move forward with this, because that's what we all should be doing. It's not just about being vegan and stopping contributing to it. It's about also doing your part and speaking up for those whose voices are ignored, and also speaking up for them the way that you would want to be spoken for if it was you being lowered into that gas chamber. You know, you would want people always talking about this. You would want people doing whatever they can, making vegan meat and writing books and doing speeches and hosting events and posting online and showing their stories and doing all the things. And the power that we all have is incredible, because we can literally change lives. My life was changed when somebody told me eating animals is bad karma. I was like, yeah, that sounds probably true. And then that started me on my journey. That guy didn't even have a YouTube channel. He said that in real life. We all have a way of doing this. The first thing we need to do is get good answers to the questions that we're asked. Now, you probably think, I get a bit nervous when people ask me. You probably know more than you think. And if you don't, it's really easy to learn the answers to the most common questions that you're going to be asked. It's the same all the time. Where do you get protein? What about plants? What about free range? What about humanely slaughtering animals? Fish don't feel pain, etc. There's like 10. There's like 100, but there's 10 that you'll probably hear regularly. You get a good answer to those questions and start helping people just move in that direction. You know, when we start crossing the objections off people's lists, this sounds really good. This is better. We got the answer to all those objections, and it always points towards a vegan world being better in all the ways. So all your job is to do is not necessarily you can't force anybody to get there. You can't put a gun to somebody's head and tell them to eat the tofu sandwich. That's not how we do it. You just share what has changed you and show them through the food, whatever their objection is. Let's say they think the food's gross. Send them some recipes, easy recipes, cheap recipes to also cross off those objections. Show them how delicious it is. Let them taste it. Eat at the same tables as these people. Be there as a shining light of what it means to be a vegan. Try to lead by example. You don't have to do that. Other ways, you can cover yourself in blood and run down the street screaming, "Meat is murder." People do it. It works. It gets people thinking about it. You know, do what feels good for you. I'm not really into that, but I always talk about this and I post online every single day. This is something we should all be doing. We have now this technology that did not exist before, where every single one of us has an audience. Let's say you only have 200 people on your Facebook. That's 200 people. That's probably that's about what's here right now maybe. That you can reach every single day, that you can share this footage that has been collected that's just in your phone. You can always share all of these things, and sometimes it reaches millions and millions of people, or even if it reaches 5 people, that's 5 people you reach that day, and that has a ripple effect, and people change. People are learning more and more about this and realizing this is the way to go. So please utilize your social media. You don't need to always post graphic slaughterhouse footage. Post what you're up to today. Post some of the food at these tables. Post some cool people you meet. Post a couple of cool thoughts you have about it. Post a cool quote. Post some cute kids. Post some slaughterhouse footage. And then just get back to business. Sneak it in. They won't even, what the hell's this? But then it's back to your regular programming. Mix it up. And this is such a powerful thing that I think, you know, we're starting to realize, but really, you know, this is something we can all do every day. Plant seeds. Your job isn't to force anybody to do it. You are just planting seeds and they'll grow. And if you can water them and help them and show community and make this welcoming and encouraging, more and more people are going to do it. If people think of vegans as what we talked about, angry, aggressive, preachy, annoying, judgmental, pushy, good-looking. If people think that of us, that alone is going to be a big reason why a lot of people don't want to do this, you know? And it doesn't have to be like that. This is a really incredible... Put your hand up if this is one of the best things you've ever done in your life. Yeah, it is. It is so good because you're extending your circle of compassion to embrace all beings. That adds love, compassion, and peace in your heart. You know through your own choices that you're causing far less suffering and harm to others. That makes you feel good too. It makes you realize that you're doing good for this world and spreading a good message. Your health is better. Everything's better. There's so many reasons why this is a positive gift to share and help people do. And don't be so hard on people. You know, every step they take on that path, great job, encourage, support. Remember how hard it was for you to take some of those steps. Like I said, I was vegetarian for a year. You know, it's not always easy. And some people are, you know, find it harder than others. So let's just make it as easy and convenient and supportive as possible in whatever ways that we can think of doing. We all have unique gifts. We all have unique talents and skills and strengths. And we can always point them towards spreading this message. This is the most important message, in my opinion, to spread because it causes vastly more suffering and killing than anything else. And that's not just to other species, it's also to our own species. And it's also to this planet. So share the love and be a shining example of what it means to be a healthy, happy, positive vegan. It's not always easy to be positive in a world filled with so much negativity. But you got to look for it. You got to find it, and you got to continuously do that. That's a continuous practice. When you stop doing that is when things start getting dark. And that is not a helpful place for you or for them. So keep it as positive as possible. In my experience and opinion, that's what definitely works the best. People want to feel that way too, and they'll radiate towards people who are already doing that. And do it in whatever way you can. And apart from that, I think we'll just, if you have any, answer some questions. So thank you very much. Cool. Thanks, everybody. Okay, does anyone have any questions, suggestions, comments? Especially, though, the best ones would be, if anybody has any, what would be the word? Like, they don't think this is for them. What I just said, they're like, yeah, but nah, this guy's wrong because of something. Or I couldn't do this because of something. Or anything like that. Be brave. Don't worry. This is a non-violent crowd. We're not going to get you. But honestly, that would be the best thing to answer. If anybody has any objections or think that this isn't for them or something like that, that would be the ones I'd love to answer. If not, though, any questions or comments or anything like that are totally fine. Yes? Yeah? Yeah? Right. Okay. Yeah? Gotcha. Great question. Thanks for asking. Okay, so this woman here is trying to eat more vegetarian food, not feeling very high in energy and allergic to soy, and also believes that you're not getting enough protein. I'll just start with the protein thing. We are really led to believe that we need a lot more protein than we do. If you are just getting enough, if you're eating enough calories for your body through a variety of plant foods, by default, without even trying to eat high protein foods, you'll be getting enough protein. A way to find out for sure, there's a website called chronometer.com. And then you can type in the food that you ate in a day. You had 300 blueberries, you had 2 cups of oats, whatever it is. And it'll give you a reading of all the things that you had, what you had plenty of, what you didn't have enough of. So that's a really useful website for people who aren't really sure if they're getting enough nutrients and vitamins and minerals and all that kind of thing. You're trying to eat more vegetarian, and you also mentioned that you're menopausal. So what I would say is that when you're consuming dairy, which is, dairy and eggs, which is the difference between, one of the big differences between being vegan and being vegetarian, those foods are the type of foods that will most likely have a big impact with your hormones. If you think about cow's milk, there's a lot of hormones in cow's milk. That's why it can double your chances, just a little bit a day of drinking cow's milk. For women, it can double your chances of developing breast cancer. And these cows are supposed to grow from tiny little cows to very, very big cows. That's what cow's milk does in all its forms. So I would suggest avoid that. Avoid that totally for that reason, and start choosing the dairy-free milks, like the almond milk, rice milk, soy milk, coconut milk, hazelnut milk. Also the dairy-free cheeses, which are at Trader Joe's. Oh no, what country am I in? Do you have Trader Joe's here? I was in USA yesterday. Okay, where am I? What you got here? Organic Garage right over there. It gets confusing. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, okay, I literally don't know where I am. Like, not what house, but what part of the world. And what else do I say? Yeah, so the protein thing you probably don't have to worry too much about. Now, when it comes to getting protein from tofu, tofu is a high protein food. So are nuts and seeds. So are all other beans, like lentils and red kidney beans and things like that. So are certain grains, quinoa. But basically, like I said, you don't really need... Protein is not the thing you need to worry about anywhere near as much as people believe. It's the only people that are deficient in protein are the ones who are starving, who are not getting enough food, literally, at all. And to help you out a little bit more, if you go to the website forksoverknives.com/recipes, they're all the healthiest recipes out there that will make you feel so much more energy. They'll help you be your ideal weight. They'll help you sleep better. They'll reduce your chances of getting many diseases. And you'll get to enjoy, the food is delicious and easy. So I'd recommend that website for the healthier stuff, for you to feel at your absolute best. Give it a try. And you might not, that doesn't mean necessarily, because here's the thing I've been learning about recently. I don't want to tell people to go to that website and then they feel like, well, I'm not going to eat that every day, so I'm not going to bother. What I want to say a bit more of now is that, why don't you just add one of those recipes maybe once a day, or maybe once a week even, or something. Just do something. Take one step in that direction and see, oh, this is easier than I thought. I enjoy this more than I thought. Maybe I'll make another recipe. Maybe I'll have this 2 days a week now. Or, each breakfast I'll have this. What can I have for lunch now? So just check it out. Check out healthy vegan recipes, or especially forksoverknives.com, and see what's there for you. And best wishes. And I hope you get there soon. And the sooner, the better for everybody involved, including yourself. Good luck. Thanks very much. So. Yeah, really great question. Really great question. So this gentleman's question was basically, we're getting to this age where we're starting to see some health things happening with my friends and family, and they go to their doctors, and their doctors say, no, just eat meat, eat dairy, eat eggs. Doctors used to also tell people to smoke cigarettes. Doctors get about 24 hours worth of nutrition training in 6 years. Doctors don't really know a lot about nutrition. And even people that do claim to know about nutrition, I thought I knew a lot about nutrition too, being in the health industry for nearly 8 years. Turns out I was wrong. So the best thing that I would recommend, and this is for all the different kind of, the biggest reasons to move towards a plant-based diet, health, environment, and ethical reasons, one of the best things you can do, if you can get somebody to sit down and watch a documentary, which is 90 minutes compacted. It might be 7 years worth of work compacted into 90 minutes and packaged in a powerful way. If you can get somebody to sit through, for example, like the website I just explained, Forks Over Knives, a documentary, which is based on the largest study ever conducted on the relationship between nutrition and disease. You can say, look, man, don't take my word for it. This is the largest study ever done on this. And after decades and tens of thousands of participants, the bottom line was obvious. The optimal amount of animal products in the human diet is 0. The best diet for thriving and living a long disease-free life is a whole foods plant-based diet. So that might be part of it. you might not have the credibility with them because you don't have that white jacket, you didn't go 6 years at that school, but these guys have been doing this for their whole life. This is a reputable study, and there's countless of others. And also what you could show people is people who are living long lives as vegans. The athletes, you know, they're some of the most elite athletes on the planet do it on a plant-based diet. There's a really good website, it's kind of funny, it's called malnourishedvegans.com. And these vegans are ripped, mate. They're massive. So you could send them there. There's one more thing I wanted to say about that. Oh, damn. Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I was going to say. You know how they've got like the American Dietetic Association? They've got a similar thing for Canada. They got one in Australia. They got them all over the world. Every single one of them that I've seen, and I've seen about at least a couple of dozen, all of them agree that a vegan diet done the right way, which isn't hard to do, but just stipulating, done the right way, not just eating Oreos all day long. Done the right way is healthy for everybody, from children, adolescents, breastfeeding mothers, the elderly, athletes, everybody in between. So maybe I'd show them that as well. Just show them more credible things rather than just my own voice. And show them with your own body too, man. You know, if we can, that's just another thing. I'm not saying everybody here needs to be the healthiest vegan ever. Sometimes it's you know, it's good to have all vegans so people know they can be a junk food vegan, and all shapes and sizes are welcome, don't get me wrong, of course. But also it's good for the people who think that, you know, they care about health and they want to do it for health reasons, to show that, yeah, I'm healthy, man. And I've been doing this for however many years and I feel great, and here's why. Yeah, okay, so good luck, brother. Just keep planting the seeds, man. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I would agree that it is a privilege to be able to be vegan. I am so grateful for that privilege, and I think anybody who has that privilege should do it, because there's so many who are not privileged because of us not doing it, and that means them going through things worse than your worst nightmare. But really what you're saying is this only for wealthy people kind of thing? You know, and I would say, nah, the cheapest foods in the supermarkets are potatoes and rice and beans and pastas, and they're available all over the world for the most part. Now, there's certain parts of the world where they could not thrive on a vegan diet. Okay, that's not ideal, and I'm not going to force those people to kill themselves. That you got to do what you got to do to survive, just like lions kill to survive. So until we have cleaned up our own yard, you know, right here, then we can start helping those other places that can't do it without some foreign aid. But what about everybody here who can literally still drink milk, just almond milk, still eat meat, just plant-based meat at the same supermarket? This should be the place, you know, it's so easy here. There's no excuse here. We've got all the education and accessibility here. So I think anybody who's living in this kind of way and using it being privileged as an excuse, I don't understand that at all. There's certain areas of the world that just can't do it, fair enough. But in terms of how much cheaper it is and how accessible most of those foods are in the majority of the world, I would say that is not a true statement, and also that has nothing to do with being white. You know, everybody, white people, black people, wherever you're from, you shouldn't pay to have animals killed if you don't need to. It's not about your culture. You might have a cultural reason. We've always done this. Every Thanksgiving we kill a turkey. Okay, well, your culture is not more important than their lives. And that's the bottom line, really. If your culture, or your religion for that matter, condones unnecessary violence, then we shouldn't be sticking up for the culture or the religion. We should be sticking up for the victim. always. And that's my position I'll always hold, because we should be seeing this from the victim's point of view. Cool. Thanks for your question. Yes? I'm so sorry, I can't hear you. Maybe, is there a mic? Okay, that's all right. Yeah, I understand. That's a tough one. Religion is a tough one. The question was, for those who didn't hear, sometimes when this person is doing outreach, speaking to people on the streets or whatever it is, they say, I guess it's a religious thing, they pray to the animal, or for the animal, they give thanks, and the animal sort of surrenders themselves. I've heard that as well. I've never seen that happen. I've never, ever seen an animal lay down their life for us. They run for days sometimes. Pardon? Oh, you're agreeing with me. Well, yeah. I was like, what, you've seen an example? Get it up on YouTube. I've never seen that before. I've heard people use that as an excuse. Personally, I've never, ever seen an animal willingly submit their throat to have it slit. And I can't imagine that has ever happened, personally. So I think that's just false. But that's not probably how I would address that question with that person. Although I have my days. What I'd probably say is, I'd ask their religion. What religion are you exactly? Is your religion based on love? Is your religion a compassionate religion where we should be? Because most of them are. And I would say, let's say it was Christianity, for example. I say, what would you think Jesus would prefer? Do you think Jesus would prefer a world with slaughterhouses or without slaughterhouses? And I think, if Jesus would prefer the world with slaughterhouses when both options are available, then that guy, I don't know if we should be looking up to that guy anymore. And I don't think he'd say that. If Jesus was a real dude, I think he'd be like, of course not. He'd be broken-hearted on the ground inside a slaughterhouse. What have you done? What are you doing to them? They're like children. They're like little babies. They literally are lambs. He is the Lamb of God. Hallelujah. Amen. Right? So I just can't understand when people use religion to justify violence, when most of the religions strongly advocate for peace and love. And if your religion doesn't do that, if your religion does advocate for violence against animals, I would say potentially it's a great religion, but this part you guys really need to think more about, because listen to them scream. That is not an act of love. Look at them as they get their throat cut. That is not an act of love. And if we're trying to get back to the Garden of Eden, or whatever, the Holy Land, or just make this world better, that is not the way to do it. And God is showing us through how destructive this is to ourselves and to Earth as well. But yeah, someone just said that to me the other day. We pray and give thanks. I'm like, the animal is already dead. Your thank you does nothing for this animal, this murder victim. If I kill a human and say thank you, am I good now? No. And what is the difference between human animals and other animals? There are differences, but when it comes to, is it morally acceptable to take their life against their will for no necessity? The answer is always no. Always no. Okay, good question though. Thanks very much. Yes. Yeah. I know, I've been there. There's a slaughterhouse right there somewhere, right? I know. That's what I walked out of that just across from that slaughterhouse last time I was here, and literally across the road is McDonald's and this mall. Yeah, it's crazy. That's something I never realized growing up. I remember in Australia we have a really comprehensive. It's like a Google map, and there's little icons all over it of a little pig face or a little egg or a little chicken, showing all the factory farms and slaughterhouses in Australia that we are aware of. And there is a ridiculous amount. And I had no idea that half an hour away from where I lived were factory farms and slaughterhouses. I had no idea. And now, because I've been to so many now, I always, when I'm driving, I'm like, that's a pig farm. That's a chicken farm. And it's everywhere, you know? And it's all behind closed doors. And if you go in there and you try to rescue those animals from their execution, these innocent animals from their execution, you will be trialed for trespassing, for burglary, probably for break and enter. If that happens to you in the USA, you will be trialed as a terrorist, as an eco-terrorist. Yeah, and that just shows the corruption with how much, you know, they don't want us to see this. That's why we haven't seen it. We haven't really seen it. I asked an 80-year-old guy the other week, have you ever seen footage like this before, man? It's footage of a slaughterhouse. He goes, nah. I'm like, don't you think that's incredible? That you've gone 80 years eating them in this slaughterhouse, eating them every single day, and you've never seen it before. What happens to them before they get on your plate? He's like, yeah, I guess that's kind of weird. I'm like, it is, man. And it's not an accident. It's because they know that we don't like it. We don't watch slaughterhouse footage and go, yum. Looking forward to lunch. We go, oh my God, that is horrible. Do not share that with me again. In fact, if you share that again, I'm blocking you. I'm going to block you on Facebook. I don't want to ever see that again. That is literally what people do when they see how their food is made. I heard this story of this school class. They took a classroom full of kids to a slaughterhouse. And all of them were spewing, like were vomiting and sick from the experience. I'm like, if your food makes you vomit like that, maybe don't eat it. You know, if you can't even look at it happening because it disturbs you, imagine if it was you in their situation. Maybe don't pay for it. You know what I'm saying? And I completely forget what the question was. Oh, yeah, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. It's crazy. It's totally crazy. But you know what else is happening? Some of these factory farms and slaughterhouses are going out of business, whether voluntarily or not, and they're converting their farms to more ethical practices, which is a really special and exciting thing starting to happen now too. And we have, just so you all know this for your outreach or whatever, we have organizations now who are helping farmers transition from dairies to berries, for example. And farmkind.org. Thank you, farmkind.org. She knows, she's smart. So yeah, farmkind.org, there's a bunch of them actually. And you can find them, and if you know any farmers or anybody like that who wants to do, you know, whether for whatever reason, even if it's for money, even if, who cares? If they want to make that transition, there are options available now. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes? Yeah. Yeah.
So how would you go about approaching someone like this? Because when I try to show her any footage, she's like, she just isn't open to seeing it. So
Yeah. I think it's always, that's a really good question. Everybody hear that? Yeah. Nah. Basically, family members who love their animals, love their dogs, and you want to show them what's going on to the other animals, and they say, no, some animals are supposed to be eaten, and some animals are supposed to be loved and part of the family. What do you do about that? I think you're probably already doing it. You're probably just making her ask these questions that she's probably never, ever asked herself before. And that's a really big start. That's a big start to, you know, there is no good answer for that. So, you know, that's a good start. And sometimes, like I said, especially with family, because family is hard, you can really let the emotions fly. When I'm talking to people on the street, I'm on my best behavior. When I'm at home with the fam, if it comes to it and there's like some sort of disagreement on this, which there isn't now because they're all vegan now, but let's say there was, it would be like emotionally charged, and I wouldn't really try to be on my best behavior so much. And sometimes that can really push people away. Like that's another thing to realize, is that sometimes if you don't do this right, don't think just because you're saying some facts that it's going to always help. Sometimes you can push people further in the other direction, further entrench them in their already beliefs. And that's why I think, doing it in a kind, compassionate way is also really important. But I would say, no, don't give up. Give her the opportunity. Not everyone changes overnight. You planted a few seeds, you asked some thought-provoking questions. Maybe next you can offer to invite her over for dinner and make her a delicious vegan meal so that she thinks, oh, this is actually delicious. You can show her some of the products. You can send her maybe just some cool links about animals, some funny links, or some cute cows, like at first, you know what I'm saying? You know where I'm going with this. Mix it up. But yeah, just keep just a little bit here, a little bit there. Don't think that you're going to sit down with her and be like, all right, you sat down a non-vegan, you're going to be sitting up a vegan in 15 minutes. Like, that don't always happen, And yeah, she's got decades of conditioning, and she's got generations of those same beliefs, those same objections, those same questions. So just do what you can do. Just offer some, a few questions and a few meals. Food is the way. Like, food is really the way. And if she's an animal lover, connecting with that's the way as well. And you never know. She might be, no, don't want to see it, don't want to know, don't want to know. And then one day you just catch her when she's a little bit more susceptible, and something just sort of sticks a little bit more. And one day, you never know when that day might be. I hear about it all the time. My husband said that he would never do this. I never thought he would. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then one day he just went, you're right, I'm doing this. That happens all the time. So yeah, just be patient and be there, and and just keep doing what you're doing. Good luck. Okay, I think we maybe just time for one more question. Okay, yes?
So I was just thinking, my pets, like they really like my cats, like eat fishes. So if I'm incorporating this into my life, like if I buy those kind of products, if they're healthy,
For sure. Okay, so cats was the question. This person has cats and they eat meat, and I'm still contributing to the problem. Like I already said, no vegan is perfect. No one is causing zero harm on this planet, and being vegan is about striving to cause the least amount of harm as possible. If you have cats and you've rescued these cats and we're told they need to eat meat, what they actually need is all their essential nutrients. And that can be found in meat, but actually the meat that cats eat these days, that you buy at their food from the supermarket, because it's so low quality, they actually supplement the meat that they eat with taurine, because a lot of the natural taurine doesn't really exist in that anymore, just due to the process that food has gone through. So what is available now, and more and more of this is going to come as we get more technologically advanced and there's more demand for these things. We have vegan cat food now. It's got all the essential nutrients they need. They can live and thrive perfectly well. It has taurine, just like it's a taurine supplement, but so is the meat that they're eating. That's where they're getting it too. So it has everything they need, but it's made from plant-based foods. That is an option for you and your cat. Well, not for you, but you know what I mean. Like, you're going to buy it. And let's say that wasn't available to you. You can order it and it can get it delivered. Let's say that wasn't a possibility. And just while we're on the topic, dogs can easily thrive on a plant-based diet. There's so many good dog recipes out there. The oldest dog on record as of a couple of years ago was a dog lived on a vegan diet his whole life. Mostly lentils and rice, I believe. Delicious. Bit of soy sauce on there, that's good. So let's say you can't make that option. Let's say the only thing you can do is feed this cat meat for whatever reason. Maybe there's a way of doing it like dumpster diving, where you're not paying for it still. Maybe you're getting offcuts from a butcher. Maybe you have to buy it. Unfortunately, sometimes you'll be put in sticky situations where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. What are you going to do? Let your cat starve to death? So sometimes you're in these situations that aren't perfect. And then you just make the best decision you can make and hope that a better option will be available And maybe that's something you can, if you find one of those sticky situations where there's either way, it's not a perfect thing, then maybe there's something you can help do about that. And maybe that will be something, a way that you contribute to making this a more convenient world to be vegan in. And we can all do stuff like that. All right, that's all the time I got. Thank you all so much. Cool. Nice. Oh, yeah. Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. A big thank you to you.
My pleasure.
And thank you to all of you for coming and attending the Sustainable Block Party and Pop-Up Market. James has a sustainably made line of clothing with all of his t-shirts over at his booth right there. So please make sure you stop by and take a look at his t-shirts. And please drop by our Vegan Stokes cheese booth. We're right over there. And we have cheesecake that we don't make for anyone except for the Sustainable Block Party and Pop-Up Market. And we also have discount coupons for savings in stores. Thanks very much.
And I just wanted to jump on and say thank you to everyone for being here. I'm Avra, I'm the event organizer. I run vegan social events. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to James. Thank you, of course, to Stokes for sponsoring this stage. We couldn't have done it without you. So thank you, thank you. And thank you to Organic Garage for providing the space and being so supportive of the vegan community. I also run the blog Love Wild, Live Free, so I'm thinking some of you might be following me already. So definitely go on socials, Love Wild, Live Free, and Vegan Social Events, hashtag Vegan Social Events for this event. And I'm very happy you're all here, and thank you for being here. So, yeah, peace.